equality instead of diversity. Yeah, you know what? That's true. This coding error happened because there was no Warbringer starring a male character this expansion. I guess the fear of missing out really is as strong as they say. Having said all that, there are still clearly bugs in the Mythic Plus system. I've run around 18 so far, and a number of times we completed a keystone in time, only to have it downgrade. So it's not like everything is fixed now, but speaking as a taxpayer, I can say it's probably not the end of the world. And if Mythic Plus didn't roll out quite as smoothly as Blizzard would have liked, what about the long-awaited Warfronts? Because Warfronts are something I've been down on in this channel in the past. When BFA was announced at BlizzCon, I predicted on Patrick Beja's Pixels podcast that they would be the feature most likely to be cut before launch. Oh yeah, we were on Pixels. I mean, it's no big deal. I don't know why you even brought it up, to be honest. And for the longest time, the fact that no one really understood what Warfronts were exactly or how they were supposed to work was a go-to standard joke for us. And then on beta, when I played them, I found them fun, but a little bit underwhelming, and not something I'd be keen to repeat too often. Although, to be fair, that could have been because the lag was so bad that it took me genuinely 5 minutes to chop a single piece of wood, which was frankly a bit too much like real life for me, thanks. And so I guess you'd expect me now to glory in the total vindication of how rubbish they are now they're here. Well, the truth is, I can't, because we just don't know. At the time of writing, neither US nor EU servers have actually unlocked the Warfront scenario. As I say these words, no one has played this feature on live yet. And even I wouldn't give my opinion on something that doesn't exist yet, except Teen Titans. I think that's probably gonna suck. But apart from that, I just wouldn't. But what I can talk about is the lead up to it, and what was actually there on reset day. I played through it first as Alliance, who are currently in control of Arathi, and it's actually pretty good. You wander around, you see everything, and then you run, fly. What kind of idiot would try and walk around Arathi? That would be stupid. No, you fly about it with a whole ton of people and complete some really basic quests, which are essentially just killing stuff, but it's really fun because there's loads of people doing them and they're dropping sweet loot. And then you kill your extra bonus world boss, and then you head back to base and wait for the attack to start and hope that it doesn't start before you get to do it all again next week. The Horde side is a lot more simple. You're just scouting around Arathi a little bit because of course your main job is to give in randomized resources to various guys in Zandalar to fill that bar and actually start the Warfront. Interesting note about the resource progress, by the way. US and EU have their own progress bars, and last time I checked, EU servers were actually ahead of the US even though they started a day later, which would suggest that the resources you're giving in do actually have an effect. I still can't imagine it's completely tied solely to resource donations, but still. And overall, I thought that as a scene setter, it was actually pretty effective. It feels like there is genuine trouble brewing. It feels like there's a war going on, and the new Arathi is actually really beautiful and detailed and well realized. It's essentially a whole new zone, and it's great. When I found the graveyard that the Alliance had made for the Forsaken characters that died at the end of Before the Storm, I genuinely got a little bit emotional because it's got all their names and personal effect, and you know I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff, and it's actually just really, really good world building. As scene setters go, it's incredibly effective, and it's important to remember that's all it is. Okay, we got them done in almost 2 hours. Yes, main content of the expansion, which promises to be so much fun and a thing to pull people in, done within only 2 hours. GG Blizzard. No, you see, you haven't done it. No one has. That's clearly written by an Alliance player, and it's worth pointing out that it's Horde doing the Warfronts right now. That 2 hours of content you did, that's not even your turn. That's just stuff to do. But here's the thing, whoever wrote that comment, I don't blame them for not understanding. I've been joking about how no one understands Warfronts for 10 months now, and they are clearly something which is still confusing, because that comment was one of many on multiple threads. I feel like Blizzard have done a really bad job of communicating this feature to players from the start, but especially now, in-game. You know, we could really have benefited from maybe a little cutscene like we get in our capitals to explain the basic story of the 3 leveling zones. Those are great! Something like that just flat out explains to us this entirely new and quite involved gameplay feature would have been super helpful. But since that hasn't happened, allow me to explain things to you as best I can. Warfronts are on a cycle. One faction has control of the area. That's the Alliance right now. You've got to start somewhere. They have essentially free run of Arathi. So those 2 hours of missions that the poster talked about, although I'm going to call it more like an hour to be honest. I think someone may have forgotten that they could fly in Arathi, and honestly, what kind of an idiot would do that? And that world boss that only they can kill. Awesome. Meanwhile, the Horde want to be in control, so they are currently giving in resources to fill that bar, and when they do, they get to play the Warfront scenario. That's the actual content we're talking about here. That is the epic multiplayer scenario that is part WoW, part RTS, part MOBA, and sees you gathering your forces, gathering resources, spawning troops, launching a full-on attack on Stromgarde, and killing the Alliance commander for 370 loot. And then after that's been up for a bit, we swap places. The Horde now control the area thanks to that big attack you just did in the Warfront, so they get the missions and the world boss, and the Alliance start to give resources to fill up their bar to unlock the Warfront that they can play in. And when they do, they kick the Horde's ass, and it swaps around again, forever, because that's war, kids. It's just one thing after another, and no one wins. War is bad. Now, does all this mean that I'm a little bit more optimistic about Warfronts themselves? Well, a little, yeah. This introduction certainly does make it feel like a big event. I love how the zone has been changed. There's a definite eve of battle feel about it all, which I find quite exciting. Obviously, I'll have to wait and see for the scenarios themselves. I know they're not supposed to be content that you repeat all that much, so as long as that initial playthrough is fun, in and of itself, that'll be enough for me, I guess. The issue comes with how much grinding I'm going to have to do for those sweet, sweet armor sets. We'll look forward to telling you all about it next week.
And so to Uldir, because yes, there may be excitement and confusion over other parts of the game this week, but surely this is what it's all about. Arguably the most important content in the game, the content that rarely, if ever, lets you down, the content that even WoW's biggest detractors admit it does better than anyone else, and Blizzard seem pretty confident in their new raid too, because let's be honest, you don't call your flagship content something that can be so easily punned to "oh dear" unless you're fairly sure that's a pun that people won't ever feel the need to make. We've already done a video this week talking about the story of Uldir and the lore behind the bosses there, which you might need especially if you're an Alliance player because you've received next to no indication in-game that anything is happening in the Heart of Darkness at all, least of all a potentially world-ending old god thing that must be stopped at all costs. When you do the other factions' dungeons, at least there's something, like the Order of Embers guys saying, "Hang on, who are you?" It doesn't matter, let's kill shit, to Horde players in Waycrest Manor. But Alliance players in Uldir don't even get that. But anyway, on the off chance that Alliance players just so happen to find themselves in an old Titan Old God experimental facility, and by complete coincidence are grouped with 20 or so appropriately equipped friends and feel like raiding some fools, then both factions can now jump into the normal and heroic versions of an instance which is really stunning to look at. I mean, maybe I'm an easy sell because if it wasn't all green, I was almost guaranteed to like it a bit, but honestly, that moment when you enter the facility properly and see right across the space below to the boss you'll eventually get to is awesome. And the cool visuals don't stop there, as you loot awesome neon weapons to really round off your Tron transmog, or collect one of the 4 raid sets, which, with the best will in the world, is never going to be as good as 12 raid sets, and which honestly you really need to see modeled by a troll to get the full effect. Face off against foes like Macy Boy with his glowing mace, well, his 2 maces actually. Core, Hammer of the Corrupted, which is a beefy 355 plus 2-hander on normal mode, not to be confused with Core, Hammer of the Guardian, which was a 350 2-hander but was only supposed to be a cosmetic item usable by everyone, so Blizzard later reduced the item level down to 140 to reflect that. Unfortunately, that meant that at least some players had looted the Guardian mace at 350, thought, "Excellent, a new weapon, thanks Blizz," discarded their old weapon, and then the next day woke up to find their brand new weapon was now the same level as something you can pick up from Hellfire Citadel. Oh dear. Or Pug Killer, Mother, the second boss of the raid that is unfairly and mercilessly killing pug groups by selfishly demanding that some level of group coordination happen. In a raid of all places. Oh dear. Actually, so far, Uldir does seem like a raid specifically designed to make life difficult for random pug groups, with Vectis and Zekvaz, and of course Gahoon also needing a fair amount of communication and organization, even on normal mode. For me, I don't really see the problem with this. Blizzard have always said that normal is the first level for casual and friends and family groups, all of whom you'd expect to have at least some kind of coordination and be able to survive multiple wipes without the group collapsing. That kind of player still wants to be challenged on their own level. You want to kill bosses in a pug you have no intention of coordinating with? Awesome. There's a game mode for that. It's called LFR, the first wing of which will be opening next week alongside the all-important Mythic Mythic version. A Mythic version that Method have announced that they will be streaming live, which is actually a pretty important announcement. The Mythic world's first race of any new raid is such a big deal to those at the top end, involving tens of thousands of man-hours, incredible stamina, and no little skill, that streaming their progress live is just something the actual contenders have never really done before, for obvious reasons. If you're streaming and your closest rivals aren't, then by following your progress and the strats you're trying, that clearly gives your rivals an advantage. That's why the race has always been tantalizingly mysterious and difficult to follow, waiting for tweets from the raiders involved, or hanging on WoW progress updates like someone following a football game on CFAX in the 1980s. But now that mystery seems like it's going to be swept away. This is a pretty ballsy move from Method. Sure, they'll get a gabillion viewers on Twitch and make all of the money in the world, but will other guilds be able to use this setup to their advantage and gain a deciding upper hand in progress? Will Method end up saying, oh dear? Method obviously think they don't really have any rivals, and to be honest, they are probably right. Only Exorcists have come close in recent times. For the rest of us, don't forget there's always the new Hall of Fame achievement, which I think is really cool. The first 100 guild groups on either faction to kill Mythic Gahoon will get an achievement, and even better, the famed Slayer of Gahoon title too. If that title is limited to players who were there for the kill rather than the whole guild roster, then that's maximum 4,000 players worldwide that can get it, and let's be honest, if you're in seriously any Alliance Mythic guild, you've really got to fancy your chances, haven't you? Like, those top 100 horde spots will be super competitive and go relatively quickly, but the Alliance side is going to be a lot more open, so go for it. And seriously, really do go for it, because it's not until the top 100 horde and Alliance places are filled that cross-realm Mythic raiding is enabled. So, for all our sakes, get out there and kill that old god, not old god thing. We're going to link Wowhead's exhaustive raid guides in the description below to help you on your way, as well as articles covering everything we've talked about today, from Warfronts, Mythic Plus, Core, and also something we find really useful, your daily and weekly BFA checklist. Because if all the confusion about Warfronts this week has proven anything, it's that all the new content unlocking this week has been slightly confusing for some players. Either because of bad communication on Blizzard's part, or just because there really was quite a lot of it.
So, serious question. This
Yes.
is serious matter.
Yes.
Did you exploit this week, World Quests? Did you cheat like the cheaters did?
Well, when you put it that way, I was gonna say I exploited things, but when you say cheat, I definitely did not cheat.
That's exactly what someone who did an exploit would say. That's exactly what they would say.
Yeah, okay, I didn't do anything.
Like the guy who was like, oh, this is an exploit, everyone. And then Blizzard was like, we're going to ban people who do this. And then he was like, oh, fooled you, not an exploit. And it's like, I feel like someone's just making up an excuse as to why they exploited.
My favorite was like, it's your fault for making it easy for me to cheat. Did you exploit any exploits?
No, I don't even know. I'm always late on this stuff. But I want you to know that I totally would have done it if I'd known about it.
Yeah.
I would have Maga Orcs and Dark Iron Dwarves. And what else could I have got? Like, I just do all my reps, basically.
Everything.
And so much Exposum.
Yeah.
I'd have so much Exposum. I'd have built a house out of Exposum, and then I would have crafted cool shit out of my house, and I wouldn't have had a house anymore, but I wouldn't have cared because I'd be rich AF from all the stuff that I just sold in the auction house.
I would cheat for Expulsum.
We raided.
Yeah.
You raided.
I raided.
With your OPBM. Ruling.
I personally am not OP.
I want you to know that
I'm OP on trash mobs. I am amazing on trash mobs.
I wanted you to know that you did. I want everyone to know that you did well in raid. But it has literally nothing to do with your skill. It was just because BM is OP.
Yeah.
And it was really weird because we went in on Thursday night, as is our guild's tradition. But that's all we're going to do for like another week because we're going on guild holiday
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Like by the time you watch this, we'll be like hopefully we'll have gone up the air and landed safely.
Yeah.
And we'll be catching some raids.
I know we
with our
planned
guild.
not catching some raids though.
You played with words like Shakespeare. You're exactly like Shakespeare.
I'm not.
Were you going to try and make like a sonnet about BM then? Were you going to try and rhyme something with BM?
Yeah.
Go. I'll wait.
Anyway, we planned our guild holiday in like January, February, and it was all pretty uncertain. And then when, BFA release dates started circulating as rumors, we were like...
I don't mind. And we did really well. We only did normal because we were only jumping in for the night, so rather than starting anything proper. And we took it very slow.
We did.
And we bopped through all the way to Zoo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we got to
which was
Zool.
great.
It was fun.
And Zool kicked our ass, but we only tried it twice.
Yeah, Zool's ads kicked our ass.
Which was
Zool himself,
pretty good for like
whatever.
less than 3 hours, I thought. So,
Yeah.
and what do you think of it? In fact, the Mythic first race might even be over by the time we get back
Oh my gosh, you're right.
from Guild Holiday. Count your lucky stars method, because
Yeah.
if it wasn't for Immortalis being on Guild Holiday, oh my word, you would be, gosh. Thank you for joining us today, though. If you enjoyed this video, don't thank us. Thank our patrons who give their actual real life money to make these videos happen. Patrons, thank you. Oh, do you know what? I hoovered the office and I cleaned up, so when we get back, we can do like the office tour from patrons.
Oh, yeah.
Like we've been promising for a week or so. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. Remember, my name is Jinsey.
Oh. Wait though, Jinsey does not talk about Warcraft, and she's not YouTubing anymore.
She does neither of those things anymore.
No, so you clearly cannot be Jinsey.
It was more wishful thinking.
I'd be okay with it.
Me too. From me, Taliesin.
And me, Evitel.
Until next time, cheerio.
И вот казан готов приготовить первое блюдо. Осталось только наладить под ним огонь. Казан – древнейшее устройство для приготовления еды. Когда-то он был, возможно, каменным, глиняным, керамическим. Но прошло время, и люди освоили металлы. Поначалу это была бронза, медь. Последние несколько столетий, может быть, чуть больше тысячелетия, используются чугунные казаны. И со временем эти казаны приобрели особую форму, шарообразную. И этот казан изменил ход истории на целых континентах. Ведь войска Чингисхана, позднее и Тимура, попросту-напросто не могли бы освоить такие огромные пространства и территории, не будь рядом с ними верного и надежного спутника казана. Ведь казан – удивительное устройство. Он заменяет собой целую кухню, и готовить на нем можно где угодно. В степи, в горах, в лесах.
Can I help you? Farewell.
В пустыне. Повсюду найдутся под ногами материалы, из которых можно изготовить очаг. И если есть какие-то дрова, хворост, любой другой вид топлива, вплоть до кизяка, то это означает, что человек будет обеспечен и горячей едой, и хлебом. Хлебом и горячим питьем в любом месте нашей планеты. Главное предназначение очага – защищать костер из небольшого количества топлива от ветра, позволить немного сэкономить дрова. А второе предназначение очага несколько сложнее. Мы о нем поговорим чуть позже. А пока давайте помоем казан. Мы налили в казан немного воды и разведем огонь. Подождем, пока вода закипит. Ведь кипящая вода отлично растворяет жир, масло, все то, чем покрыт наш пока еще новый, только что обработанный казан. Видите, как легко и весело разгорается огонек под казаном. А все дело в том, что даже небольшая тяга, которая образовалась в этом казане, помогает разгораться, и ветер больше не влияет на пламя. И теперь, когда щепки разгорелись, можно закладывать дрова покрупнее. Вот и все. Кипит вода. То, что казан шарообразный, позволяет из него легко вычерпать воду даже при помощи обыкновенной шумовки, несмотря на то, что на ней есть дырочки. И снимать его для того, чтобы помыть, либо вычерпать из него всю воду, не надо. Пусть он стоит на очаге. Ведь даже кочевавшие народы, как правило, становились кочевьем на одно место на продолжительное время. Может быть, на несколько месяцев. Как минимум на пару недель. Но уж на 3 дня это точно. И в первый день, когда очаг был только что сооружен, и глина либо земля, которые пошли на строительство этого очага, были еще сырыми, никогда не готовили густые блюда. Вот какие-то каши, либо плов. Готовили что-то жидкое. Блюдо на основе молока. Вот то, что теперь называется калмыцким чаем. А если позволял набор продуктов, то готовили какой-то суп. Вот, например, шурпу. Давайте и мы с вами сегодня приготовим шурпу. Почистим овощи, коренья и немного поговорим. Вот дикий лук всегда рос в Средней Азии, да, я думаю, вообще в степи. Ведь люди очень давно научились выкапывать съедобные коренья, клубни, луковицы и использовать их в пищу. Несколько разновидностей дикой моркови всегда росли в Средней Азии, и там до сих пор сохранилась морковь желтая. А в Афганистане есть морковь и белая, и фиолетовая. Теперь и на Западе их выращивают и продают, ну, для разнообразия. А вот такая оранжевая морковь появилась относительно недавно. Ведь это искусственно выведенная морковь, и вывели ее в Голландии. То есть в Узбекистан такая морковь, очевидно, что попала вместе с русскими, наверное, в конце 19 века. Вот вода закипает, и самое время заварить чай, чтобы попробовать, какова на вкус вода из казана. Ведь вода из казана не должна больше пахнуть никаким нагаром, никаким маслом. Вот если чай из казана получается вкусным, значит казан мы обработали правильно. Ну, пусть постоит возле огня, чайник погреется, и чай как следует настоится. Народные блюда неприхотливые, и в шурпу, по сути дела, можно опустить любое мясо. Раньше чаще всего шурпу готовили из так называемой каурмы, прообраза мясных консервов. Мясо насухо обжаривали, так, чтобы из него вышла вся влага, и заливали растопленным бараньим жиром. И вот эта мясная заготовка могла храниться несколько месяцев, если не годами, что было очень удобно при кочевом либо полукочевом образе жизни. Вот подумайте, даже чабаны пошли пасти баранов и козлов в горы. Ну, их там 3 человека, плюс 3-4 собаки. Не будут же они каждый день резать барана. Это расточительство. Поэтому брали с собой каурму, либо сушеное мясо. И каурмы для приготовления какого-то горячего блюда требовалось совсем немного. Вот по 2-3 ложки на человека. Потому что из 2 килограммов свежего мяса получается пол-литровая банка хорошей каурмы. Но блюда из каурмы были компромиссом, чем-то приготовленным на скорую руку. А вот вареная шурпа, как мы готовим сегодня, готовилась тогда, когда было свежее мясо, по праздникам, когда времени свободного было чуть больше. Узбекские, да и любые другие народные блюда неприхотливы, не слишком требовательны к качеству мяса. По сути дела, всего барана поруби на куски, и можно готовить шурпу. Но лучше всего шурпа получается из грудинки, из шеи, из голяшки, из пашины, словом, из того мяса, где содержится довольно много соединительной ткани и коллагена. Готовя даже народные блюда, лучше всего пену убирать. Мне нравится, когда бульон получается чистым, прозрачным, опрятным и аппетитным. Чтобы пена лучше отходила, надо посолить. Не солите сразу слишком круто. Вот одной ложки на 7-8 литров воды вполне достаточно. Мы сегодня готовим в казане, который имеет объем 12 литров. Но казан никогда не заполняют до краев. Значит, у нас получится примерно 8-9 литров еды. Лук в шурпу режут довольно тонко, для того, чтобы как можно больше лукового сока перешло в бульон. Если бы меня спросили, что такое шурпа, я бы сказал, что шурпа – это суп из любого вида мяса, в котором очень много лука. Да, шурпа – это, по сути, луковый суп. Посмотрите еще один способ довольно быстрой и мелкой нарезки лука. Берешь ножичек, постучал по срезу лука, а потом срезаешь несколько пластинок, и лук падает.
Honored, I'm sure. That's right.
В казан мелким кубиком. Шурпа суп особенный. Кто торопится, тот шурпу не готовит. Потому что теперь надо подождать, пока сварится лук. Надо набраться терпения. Ведь шурпа – это суп, который получается тем вкуснее, чем медленнее кипела вода. Для того, чтобы понизить температуру в казане, существует один прием. Зачерпывают бульон, особенно если где-то кипит, приподнимают и переливают обратно. И получается так, что шурпа как бы и не кипит. И температура воды на поверхности казана примерно 80, может быть 90 градусов. Но вот лук утонул. Это означает, что он уже сготовился. И теперь в казан можно нарезать морковь. Морковь – третья по значимости нота в аккорде вкуса шурпы. Можно порезать ее несколько крупнее, можно порезать потоньше. И тогда вкуса от моркови выйдет больше. А вот сухого яркого перчика достаточно одного на целый казан. Важно только посмотреть, чтобы на нем не было никаких трещин. Будет трещина, и шурпа получится слишком острая. А если на перчике нет ни одной трещинки, он весь целый, то в шурпу перейдет только запах от перца. Вообще вкус любых блюд зависит от изначального вкуса самих ингредиентов. Иногда бывает так, что лук пахнет ой-ой-ой как, на весь дом. И, конечно, такого лука можно положить немножко поменьше. Бывает морковь очень яркого вкуса. И когда готовите, никогда не помешает попробовать те продукты, которые вы опускаете в шурпу. Вот этот помидор, например, пока еще не очень кислый, не очень сладкий. И поэтому я положу их 4 штуки. Ну да, шурпа из-за этого станет ощутимо гуще. Но ведь нам важно получить не просто жиденькую водичку. Нам важно получить очень насыщенный, интенсивный вкус. Что такое вкусно? Это когда вкусов очень много. Если заварить несколько листиков райхона, либо красного базилика стаканом кипятка, то получится настой густого фиолетового цвета. Но стоит добавить к нему какой-нибудь кислоты, хоть несколько капель лимонного сока, и настой приобретает красивый розовый цвет. Именно таким будет цвет нашей шурпы. После того, как помидоры поварились минут 20, в шурпу можно опускать картофель. Теперь не стоит опасаться, что картошка от кислоты задубеет. Теперь все будет в порядке. Однако вода выкипает из шурпы, а ее замещают какие-то сочные овощи. И часть соков из этих овощей еще выйдет в бульон. Бульона получится пусть и не очень много, а шурпа будет такой, что ложка стоять будет. Зато этот бульон будет очень вкусным. И он будет действовать на организм человека как очень хорошее лекарство, восстанавливающее силы, излечивающее простуды. поднимающего стариков с постели. Важно вовремя посолить. Мы уже солили мясо, но вот теперь в шурпу добавлены овощи и клубни, картофель. Несоленый картофель не может быть вкусным, поэтому шурпу важно выправить на соль уже сейчас. И, наконец, последние ноты аккорда вкусов шурпы. Болгарский перец. Знаете, ведь разным он бывает по вкусу, по интенсивности вкуса. Бывает один очень яркий, в комнату занесешь, и на всю комнату пахнет перцем. А бывает перчик, ну, так себе, выращенный в теплице, либо на гидропонике. Такого перца надо, конечно, положить вдвое больше. Если хорошего перца было бы достаточно по одному, один красный и один зеленый, то перца со слабым вкусом и ароматом придется положить 4 штуки. И опять правило: чем тоньше порезан продукт, тем больше вкуса из него перейдет в бульон. Берем половник, зачерпываем там, где кипит, чуть более интенсивно, и переливаем туда, где пока не кипит. Или наоборот. Чем старательнее повар перемешивает шурпу, тем больше вкусов из продукта выйдет. И чем ниже температура кипения шурпы, тем богаче ее вкус. Но есть еще один ингредиент, о котором в последнее время многие забывают. Шурпу, настоящую шурпу, перед самым ее приготовлением полагается добавить мелкие-мелкие кубики курдючного сала. Мелкие кубики бараньего курдюка должны только успеть согреться и выпустить из себя, может быть, по капельке очень вкусного и ароматного жира. Вот теперь то, что мы приготовили, очень похоже на шурпу. Полюбуемся ею еще немного. Подождем несколько сладких минут. Загорается аппетит, тем вкуснее будет еда. Дело в том, что наши рецепторы, вкусовые сосочки, обоняние работает лучше всего, когда и проголодался умеренно, столько, сколько надо, и когда глаза вдоволь насмотрелись на красивую пищу. Вот зелень сейчас, шурпу, не только для аромата, но еще и для наших глаз. Потому что должно это выглядеть очень красиво для того, чтобы было еще и очень вкусно. Остановись мгновенье. Ты прекрасна. Хлеб. Нет. Без хлеба, без настоящей не обжигало рот. Иначе можно обжечь язык, обжечь небо и не почувствовать прекрасный вкус шурпы. Пусть и шурпа немного остынет, она еще слишком горяча. А у нас сейчас есть еще один ингредиент. Это сладкий фиолетовый лук, который надо опустить в казан вот буквально на 10-15 секунд, чтобы он слегка согрелся. И вот этот лук положить в кастрюшку каждому едоку. Вы не представляете себе, как он украсит своим ярким вкусом шурпу, но ведь лук еще и лекарство. Лекарство для пищеварения. Шурпа блюдо очень калорийное, очень сытное. И о пищеварении надо позаботиться заблаговременно. Не надо торопиться есть шурпу. Вернее, не есть, а пить. Именно так узбеки говорят. Шурпу будешь пить. Для того, чтобы шурпа согрела организм, для того, чтобы кровь побежала по всем органам, надо взять немного перца. Достаточно добавить несколько капель бульона, который накопился внутри перца. И шурпа сразу преображается из нежного такого супа, который, может быть, напоминает только материнское молоко, превращается в серьезную мужскую еду. Теперь каждый глоток шурпы придется заедать чем-то, иначе получается довольно остро. Иногда кусочком мяса, иногда кусочком картофеля. Но знаете что? Нам пора прощаться. Я надеюсь, что и у вас шурпа получится очень вкусный, ароматный, а вокруг вашего казана соберутся самые лучшие гости.
It is about the journey.
forces are threatened by this unsavory creature. Dispatch it for the Alliance. Cleared. We can redouble our efforts against the Zandalari in this land. Thank you, champion.
Ahoy!
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jack. Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jack. I'm going to give you a quick run through of the Azerite traits for Discipline Priest going into the Battle for Azeroth. If you haven't seen it yet, the Azerite traits are basically going to be taking the place of tier sets, kind of. You have 3 pieces of gear that will be your Azerite pieces. They will be the helm, shoulders, and chest pieces, and they each will kind of represent a sort of upside down netherlight crucible, or a similar effect to that, where you'll be able to slot in certain effects. And if you have the Reforger, you're going to be able to go back into town and remove those effects and choose another one if you want to switch specs. So the outer ring is going to hold a instance-based buff depending on where you get it from. So Uldir, Nazmir, any of the different zones will have a different buff available to you. And then it will also be competing with other specialization-focused talents. As you go deeper into the rings, they will be more passive, more stat-based increases. A lot of them are proc-based, where if your damaging spells have a chance to give you X, or your healing spells have a chance to give you Y. Right? For now, we're going to focus on the disc-specific traits, which ones that I like, and which ones that I think really need a little bit of work. Keep in mind, as you're looking at the spell numbers for these abilities, the tuning that you'll see on tooltips like Wowhead differs from what is actually in the game. Keep that in mind, and I'll describe those as to what I have seen right now in game. Right? Starting it off probably with the top of my list, and again, keep in mind the list will vary as we're getting tuning finalized. But in terms of the raw effects, Wheel and Woe very much enjoy, and is one of the big ones that I think people should be looking out for going into BFA. Healing an ally with Penance increases the damage of your next smite. Damaging an enemy with Penance increases the absorption of your next power and shield. So as we've been talking about with the disc basic guide, no matter how you're using Penance, there is going to be value in that. Right? If you're using it for damage, if you're using it for healing, you want to get extra value out of that wherever you can, and this talent does an excellent job with it. You know, offering about a 6 to 10% increase to either Smite or Powered Shield's normal effect. Again, like I said, the tooltip numbers differ from what actually is there on Battle for Azeroth Beta, so keep that in mind. If these numbers look tiny, that is just because of the tooltips on the site, all right? So usually I was seeing about a 6 or 7% increase to damage to Smite, and Powered Shield was around 1,000, I believe, when I was at 120 with like heroic-ish level gear from Mythic Plus. So it was looking pretty strong. And overall, a lot of these talents, while they look on the weaker side, you're looking at what is going to be getting a little bit of extra value for you going forward. So Wheel and Woe, definitely looking to be near the top of the list. Another great trait is Gift of Forgiveness. Smite deals an additional X damage if you have at least 3 atonements active. While this may not be as big if you're trying to maximize your damage in a Mythic Plus environment, where you're trying to have as few atonements on as possible to take advantage of Sins of the Many, this still will be a powerful trait in Raids and in Mythic Plus. Whenever you do need that extra healing, it will be there to offer a little bit of extra damage through Smite, which will be extremely important to get everybody topped off as rapidly as you can. Raids especially, you will be using lots of Smite going forward, so you also will be having at least 3 atonements active almost at all times, right? Maybe a minimum of 2 if you're just having other tanks. Like I said, this is going to be a buff you have very frequently and constantly be able to take advantage of. Depth of the Shadow is the next one on my list. Every time that Purge the Wicked or Shadow Word Pain, usually going to be Shadow Word Pain these days, deals damage, the healing of your next Shadow Mend is increased by up to a maximum of, at this point, it's I believe around 2,000 to 3,000, and your Shadow Mend usually does about 12 to 15,000 healing. So keeping in mind the health pool on average, we're around normal / heroic Uldir gear on beta doing Mythic Plus is around 140, 150k if you have a stamina buff. So with that, you're getting a fairly sizable increase to your Shadow and healing. So this offers some pretty good opportunity to be able to just buff that even further, and it's every time that Shadow or Pain or Purge the Wicked deals damage. Right? So if you're multi-dotting, if you're dotting up a bunch of ads as you're going into a big pull, that just further buffs up your Shadow Mend healing, and it continues to buff it even if you have to cast Smend multiple times into the same target. Really adds quite a lot of extra value into it as well. So something to watch out for. I really like it in 5-mans, and if you're going to be able to take it in raids, Shadow Mend will just get more efficient, as we've already seen it be pretty good to be able to mix in here and there thus far in raids. Following up is Contemptuous Homily, and deals an additional X damage and extends your Purge the Wicked or Shatter of Pain by 1 second per bolt. Right? Since we're usually not taking castigation in BFA, this will basically be an extra 3 seconds per cast of Penance to be able to add on to your dot. Right? Overall, it's a moderate effect. It's okay. The damage that it adds, from what I've checked on beta, is going to be on the lower side, but it's some extra damage. Is a little bit less, of time that you have to spend actually reapplying refreshing dots. So it's like an okay effect. This one doesn't necessarily blow me. Next up is Enduring Luminescence. Powered Radiance restores X additional health and applies Atonement for 70% of its normal duration, rather than 60% that it does at the moment, right? So a little bit extra duration onto your atonements is always a good thing, as we've seen how valuable evangelism has been able to be in a raiding environment, but it's an extra second here and there for 5 atonements, which can be okay. Going forward, you'll have to see how much we want to make sure we're having those large extended duration of atonements, or if we're just going to be needing them here and there on the side. So this is an alright trait. I'm not too terribly blown away. I would be more interested if it was just another, if they added another second or two, if it was going to be 80%, maybe even higher than that. Would just continue to increase its power. But so far, it's a solid trait. Nothing too insane right there. Final trait we're going to be looking at today is going to be Moment of Repose. Pain Suppression applies Atonement to the target and instantly heals them for X. Again, on beta, I saw this to be around 1200 to 1500 extra healing, and while most non-tanks have around 140 KHP, something like that with a stamina buff, tanks usually are upwards of 200k. So this heal is very negligible. It's, almost could just not exist there. So the extra healing it does, but it's a nice way to be able to apply Atonement off the global cooldown if you're applying Pain Suppression anyway. But overall, if you're applying Pain Suppression to the target, they should already have Atonement on them, and if they're taking that much damage, you should be spamming Smend onto them, so they should already have refreshed Atonements. So this is very much on the weaker end or weakest end of Azerite traits specific for Disc. For this one, you definitely want to look at, either the instance buff or maybe looking at different Azerite pieces. If you're get stuck with this, it's okay, but again, this is definitely going to be on the weaker end because the effects are able to, they don't make things much more convenient. Like Enduring Luminescence makes things more convenient because your atonements last longer, right? Wheel and Woe, you're always taking advantage of different benefits by using penance however you like, right? Moment of Repose doesn't really give you any of that and is almost kind of like a lazy trait, where, oh, okay, I forgot to apply Atonement onto him. Well, now he's in danger, I need to catch up. Now I can apply Pain Suppression and Atonement at the same time, right? Overall, nothing too crazy here, and will probably be on the weakest end going forward. These are the spec-specific Azerite traits that we've been seeing. Going deeper into the talent rows, like I mentioned, you will see more passive effects that will be offering, for example, Mastery or Haste Boosts, things like that. A lot of times, and I will be going over all the passive ones in a later video, we've seen that the stat bonuses a lot of times have been more valuable than adding extra healing. But like I said, it can vary depending on the Azerite piece, the value of it, the extra item level that you will be seeing. Keep in mind that Azerite pieces themselves can only be gotten through the Mythic Plus caches, raids, or any of the regular Mythic Zeros or world quests that you might be seeing, things like world bosses. You're not able to actually spam Mythic Plus to be able to target a specific Azerite piece. So going forward into BFA, you might just be stuck with some of these Azerite pieces very early on and looking to replace them as you go into raids, as you're praying to the personal loot gods. So thank you for watching my quick overview on all the disc-specific traits. Hope you all found it useful. Let me know what you guys think about these going into BFA and what kind of Azerite traits you may want to see in the future. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you all found it useful, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jack. Back again to bring you the Holy and Disc nerfs. Oh my god, they just happened tonight at the time of this recording. At this point, they're probably a couple hours old. We're going to give just a quick review about what's going on with the Discipline, primarily, and Holy nerfs that are going to be going out very soon at the time that you're watching this video. Alright, so starting it off, let's dig into it. Smite damage reduced by 6% for Holy and Discipline, which is kind of an interesting thing to look at, because the primary point, as you'll see in the article, which is linked in the description below, is their focus is going to be on the balance issues in the pre-patch. That's the reason that they're giving, is that there's balance issues in pre-patch, which, honestly, in my response, is going to be kind of like, yeah, so. There's 1 week left to pre-patch at the time of this video, and now is the point where we're starting to get buffs, nerfs for classes. It's kind of an odd point for me, like why they want to do that. I guess is just accumulate more data and be able to see where the chips are kind of falling before they do the standard expected buffs, nerfs right as normal heroic Uldir release. And once they do that, which they do every single time a new raid comes out, just about, they go see how it works through normal heroic, and then mythic is the following week, and then they see if they need to nerf anything after that, right? Those things are pretty expected, so I was kind of surprised that they did it here. Especially when Disc gets a lot of damage nerfs, and I was so excited to be leveling as Disc, because it's just super powerful, and probably still will be. But starting off, Smite damage reduced by 6% here, and this also kind of reflects that they don't really care too terribly much about, at least so far, the damage that all the healers have been doing, because starting off with specifically nerfing it for both specs, Holy's DPS was already really low in Mythic Plus, so it's kind of surprised, and unfortunately just kind of puts Holy Priest lower on the tier for M+. Not really a big deal for them in raids, but it is quite significant for Discipline, of course, in raids and in Mythic Plus, because their damage is, quite frankly, absurd in Mythic Plus environment right now, and they're just able to dish out crazy amount of it, so not terribly surprised that it's on the Disc side, but affecting both is kind of weird. Divine Star healing has been increased to 50% of spell power, was 40%. I love this change, and I wonder if they might actually go a little bit higher up on this, because if you get everybody stacked up together, it's pretty well expected the Divine Star would be an amazing talent to take. But as I've gone through raid testing a lot through Uldir, I haven't really found fights where you're going to be having everybody stacked up constantly enough to gain huge value out of Divine Star, compared to just using Halo and hitting everybody every single time with Halo, right? The fact that neither spell has target cap is very important, so knowing how many times you'll be able to hit everybody is important to look at as well. So it raises its competitiveness, but I think it's still going to be looking and yearning for the right fight to be able to use this ability. So nice it's getting buffed though, nice seeing it get a little bit of love. So digging into the big stuff though, the meat and bones. Discipline, Shadow Pain reduced by 9%, Shadow Fiend damage reduced by 16%, Mindbender by 8%. And then, of course, adjusting some little bugs here and there. Very important things. Shatter of Pain, kind of no surprise, and this, in some ways, needed to happen. About a month ago, about the time of this video, from the time of this video, Shatter of Pain actually received buffs for Shadow Priest, and by extension, it buffed Discipline Priest Shadow of Pain as well. And what that caused was Purge the Wicked to basically be useless. And really, we're getting almost the exact same dot damage out of Shadow of Pain as you were getting out of Purge the Wicked. So, what was the difference? What was the increase? What was the value by taking Purge the Wicked? Not really anything. So with this change, there actually is a gap. There actually is a difference in damage between Purge the Wicked. I still think that you're going to be taking Halo for most raid encounters, most all raid encounters thus far. But you might be able to get a little bit of loving out of Purge the Wicked on maybe in instances where you're not going to need like the burst effect, or like it's scary to try to get the burst effect out of Halo. If you have to hold on to Halo for half the instance and only use it for like a couple boss fights, it can be kind of a weak value there. So maybe that's what we're going to see out of it. Shadow Fiend, really no surprise to see its damage nerfed. It's incredibly strong on a 3-minute cooldown, and in a lot of cases helps you out DPS the DPS in a lot of M+ dungeons. So the fact that it gets nerfed isn't too terribly surprised. Mindbender, of course, will have to get nerfed to be in line, in ratio, I guess you could say. Keep it in ratio with Shadow Fiend. Unfortunately, the Pain buff a month ago, like I mentioned, wasn't in ratio with Purge the Wicked, which is why I'm not surprised by the Shadow of Pain nerf, right? So, summary, the big important things that I would say for Discipline, though. Where do we stand was the big question after that. is that we're still in good shape. Discipline is not going to be as focused on atonement healing as it was in Legion, where Legion had like, I believe 70% of our healing on average, like 65-70% was coming from atonement sources, right? In BFA, I think it's going to get reduced. It still will be incredibly important, but it will be reduced from that massive ratio that we've seen previously, and you will be focusing a lot on more of a defensive build in terms of your penance usage going into BFA, especially for Uldir and especially for cutting edge, bleeding edge progression rating. The spot healing of Disc Priest will still be very powerful, and the changes that went in today do not affect probably our most OP ability in defensive penance. While you will not always be using penance defensively, you still will be using it offensively when you have a large amount of atonements out. Defensive penance use will be ridiculously strong in BFA and incredibly helpful to your raid team, right? The amount of focus healing you'll be able to put into targets, the likelihood of running Twist of Fate and Contrition, and focusing a lot of your penances on defensive use will be very high here. So I think in many areas, Discipline's raid healing isn't in too bad of shape. The other important thing to keep in mind for Discipline is just before these nerfs went in, we received some buffs in the form of our Azerite traits, right? As you're seeing on your screen right now, there were some considerable buffs to the scaling of Azerite traits, where they were giving us the most value, right? And some of the biggest ones and some of the biggest changes that we got are to Azerite traits that augment the damage of Smite, right? So, for example, Wheel and Woe, where whenever you're using defensive penance, your Smite damage increases, right? If we're following this build of using lots of defensive penance, like I mentioned in a raiding environment, well, that's just constant Smite buffs that we'll be receiving. And because the scaling of it has been increased, the higher eye level Azerite pieces we're going to get, the more valuable Smite's going to be. Gift of Forgiveness as well, whenever you're having at least 3 atonements out, like I outlined recently in the Azerite video, you're having an increased damage to Smite. That scaling also got increased. So you're having these additional value that's already been scaled up for it. So I think at this point, the Smite change, for example, is to make sure that Smite doesn't get out of control for Discipline. Or they're already looking at it and saying, with the Azerite traits in effect, if we just start stacking those, we go like, one Enduring Luminescence, then we start stacking, and pushing for Wheel and Woe or Gift of Forgiveness to buff up our Smite damage, something like that, I think it reflects a concern that Smite could get out of control, that they don't want to have that much atonement healing as a focus, and they're kind of just preempting that. So that's what it more reflects to me from the change. But like I said, because penance defensively and offensively hasn't really been messed around with, it's still going to be a huge part of our toolkit and will be incredibly valuable going into Uldir. So while this does kind of bring us down in like the pre-patch scenario, it makes us definitely a lot more balanced because Discipline and Holy for that matter, as we'll see in a sec, were definitely very powerful. I don't think it's going to be a huge deal going into Uldir because we won't be totally reliant on the spells that were nerfed there. With Holy Priest, Binding Heal has now cost 2.4% of mana, was 2%. I believe at the start of beta alpha process, Binding Heal costs about like 1.6% of your mana. They keep on ramping up the cost because it is such a mana efficient ability to the point that you could almost constantly be spamming it. Obviously with this mana cost change you will not be able to, but it does make sure that you're focusing a little bit more on when it's going to be best to also receive healing value out of yourself. I also think with a lot of the talent changes that we've been seeing, this reflects that they want to push us towards using Circle of Healing. Now, Circle of Healing is not a bad cooldown at all. It's not a bad ability at all, but the problem is that it lacks Holy Writ synergy. It's a more efficient and mobile version of Per Healing. It does a lot more healing for the cost that for the healing per cost compared to Per Healing, but the trade-off is no Holy Writ synergy going into it. Binding Heal being that very efficient heal, getting a cooldown reduction for both Holy Writs at once makes a big difference. So I think at this point it's pretty much trying to balance out the use of Binding Heal and Circle Healing together, but you also have to keep in mind that Holy Priest, like we mentioned with Azerite traits before, just like in Disc scenario, has some loving tools for other abilities and has other tools for scaling abilities. So while they received a nerf for like their mana return Azerite trait, they did receive some buffs, of course, for using heal more effectively, where Everlasting Light, which restores additional HP whenever you use heal, but it's based on your missing mana. This opens up the possibility that if you're going to be using heal more frequently, whenever you're lower percentage of mana, this can gain a little bit more value. and you will be able to use that more effectively depending on the fight. I don't think it's going to be quite a top tier pick, but again, I think some of these changes are reflecting, anticipating where the specs are going to be going and making sure that they're not going to be too crazy powerful as we go deeper into Uldir here. So not too big of a surprise there. It also makes it a little bit harder to reduce the cooldown of Holy Word Salvation. For example, if you have to, only be using heal, the cast will be much longer than Binding Heal, which will slow down your Holy Word returns, which also slows down the return of Holy Word Salvation's cooldown, right? So now Holy Word Salvation's cast time is increased to 2.5 seconds, and since the ability's inception, they have done whatever they can to like undercut and nerf progressively the value of this ability. So it is kind of sad to see. I think Holy Word Salvation will still be a very powerful cooldown, as much as they're trying to push it down and equalize it with Apotheosis in light of the Naru beside it. I still feel that we're going to be using Salvation quite constantly going into Uldir. And at this point, they're just trying to make sure that Holy Priest is not just this like crazy mana efficient attrition healer that can continue casting forever, right? Additional survivability bonus with Angel's Mercy makes sense. They really want to push us to get rid of Feather, and they always keep on introducing more defensive options that we always ignore. So I don't think this is really going to change our mind on the Angel's Mercy talent with Desperate Prayer, but who knows, maybe we'll have some immobile fights or something like that where there'll be no need. But if history's any tool, I really doubt it. Holy's